The Eastern Cape government will give an update on the ongoing disaster response, recovery interventions and rebuilding efforts following the Mthatha floods. Heavy rainfall and floods hit the area in June, displacing many families, while over 100 people have lost their lives. The update will also touch on the humanitarian response to the disaster-struck areas. We now take you live to those visuals.
My necessity to interact with as well as executive in our KSD. I will now give an opportunity for any questions of clarity in terms of what the MEC has presented. You would have noted that we've covered the spectrum of what government has been doing in terms of this intervention. Over to you, colleagues, and I would ask that as you come, you please introduce yourself as well as the name of the media house you represent. I see you, Ronald and Fundi, Mr. Penny. We'll take those questions.
My question is for the two MECs. Maybe I'll start off with you, MEC Williams. You said over 5 billion is needed. Where is the money going to come from? Are you optimistic that National Treasury will provide the provincial government with such a substantial amount of money? And then to MEC Luceti, I guess some of the resistance from communities relates to issues where some are moved to these temporary shelters. They remain there for years while provincial government or national government promised them that their stays will be short. Issues in Nkuma local municipality also relate to new residents who live in RTP houses. They are worried about issues such as crime becoming worse with more and more of these temporary structures mushrooming in those areas. You have taken, well, there is a court order or court interdict for those who are resisting, but what's the next step if it doesn't work?
Thank you, Ronald.
Fundi from the SABC, the MEC has just said that they are not ruling out taking matters to court if the communities continue to resist. Now, won't that prolong the process of building those people houses, because we know that these people are in pain, they need houses as in yesterday. So taking them to court, I think, is prolonging that process of building them those houses. Let me stop there for now.
My question will be related to the same as Ronald, particularly the mayor can explain more on the matter relating to land and farm. Then MEC, the last time he was briefing us, was talking also about a piece of land towards the airport. What happens to that land? Is the king Sabat Kalinga, King Buyakata, also playing a role in terms of getting land?
Liam Abumisa from Newsroom Africa. MEC, just to get a confirmation, official confirmation, that is, will you be extending the stay then of the flood victims at the mass centers, saying that there's resistance with communities where land has been identified for the relocation? And then to MEC Luceti, can you perhaps enlighten us, I think to build on the questions of my colleagues as well, can you enlighten us then on the collaboration amongst the departments that are involved, particularly when it concerns the land identification for the relocation, with traditional leadership? Because at the core and really at the heart of it, amongst different interactions and engagements with some of the residents, there seems to be a contentious issue around ownership of the land belonging to the municipality, that is KSD or Nkuma, or even some of the departments of government, or does it actually belong to traditional leadership? So is the collaboration there to sort of try and alleviate whatever may arise as contentious issues around ownership?
Thank you so much, colleagues. Anything?
Yes. Thank you very much. I think let me take this opportunity and greet everyone. First, I think let me start on the issue of the those families that are still staying in your temporary emergency allocation. As the provincial government led by the Department of Human Settlements, we have applied because that provision is made by the National Department of Human Settlements. We have made a request and applied for the extension of those, because if you consider that those that have been prioritized for the temporary emergency units are kids that are younger than 10 years, are elderly that really would not be conducively accommodated in the mass care centers. So that application has been done and it's in its final stages. As it stands, no families or households will be moved from those TAs, as we are awaiting the approval of that extension. As it relates to the land issue, part of why communities would resist, I think, and that's why we are more than anything else pursuing social facilitation, relates to concerns and fears on social integration of one community to the other. I think that's acceptable, and that's why we believe more than anything else that those social facilitation may yield positive results. But the land, where it belongs to government, and we have a responsibility of providing habitable homes, habitable site to those families, will pursue all available avenues. Beyond the identified pieces of land which have been mentioned in the statements, there are other sites that we're exploring, working together with the local municipality, both in Mngoma and in King Sabata, Dalindyebo. And we are saying this in the report. The provisioning of a permanent solution not only depends, the qualifier is not you receiving a temporary residential unit, but you will be tested against the issue of affordability, then also affordability by government, but also the qualification of the household. We'll only be able to provide a permanent solution for households that are earning less than 3,500 a month. But secondly, also it's according to the budget of the Department of Human Settlements, because if you look at the conditional grant of the department, this financial year alone, we're only able to provide about 4,700 housing units. So this backlog caused from the disaster will go to an already existing backlog of housing within the department. So the permanent solution, and also the remainder of what we are able, we've only prioritized 120 million. The remainder of what we need to even provide the temporary residential unit will then depend on the approval of the business plan through COGTA and the additional funding that we are still sourcing. And then, secondly, on the issue of the land in Mngoma, we've already made inroads there, because there's already a clearing of site, and we've already appointed contractors to start the erection of those TRUs. And once the land has been serviced and prepared for the erection, we're positive that we will begin with that. But secondly, if you remember, the community that is affected, part of it is already within our upgrading of informal settlements program, and part of that upgrading of informal settlements was the relocation of that community. So there is another identified piece of land for the informal settlement that is not in a piece of land that is conducive for human settlements development. I'm not sure if there's another in Ranju. You will remind me if there's one that I'm missing, but I think I was able to cover all the questions that were sent to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks a lot. Let me greet the leadership in the House, and as well as the media. Indeed, there's no question about the issue of land, as the MEC is saying, also in the maiden farm. That is the municipal land, that is government land. There's no question about it. We are pursuing, indeed, we are pursuing the social facilitation. We do have, even this afternoon, a sitting which we are going to be having with the leadership of the area, and we are pursuing the social facilitation. up to the last end, as the MEC is saying, we'll be looking at the results of the discussions or the mediation which we are getting in, and we'll take it from there indeed. Otherwise, there's no question about it. There's no contagious issues to say that land belongs to whoever. It belongs to King Mthatha municipality as government, and we're pursuing so that we're able then to move with the community to settle in the pieces of land. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Queen.
Thank you very much. Ronald is asking a very complex question in that it is difficult for me to guarantee that we will receive the whole 5.1 billion from the National Treasury. But that mostly depends on the quality of our business plans that we've submitted. If indeed they would make sense to National Treasury, therefore it becomes a bit easier to allocate resources following the quality of those business plans. However, as we have indicated in the past, we're not throwing this whole disaster to National Treasury. As the provincial government, we've been repeatedly indicating that all departments are setting aside about 2% of their budgets in order to prepare for such disasters. So with that limited allocation that we have, we will be able to also reprioritize budgets and also assist the disaster. So we're not hanging our hands up and leaving everything to national government. So that's our hope, that we get that assistance also as speedily as possible in order to respond. Yes, indeed, court processes may prolong our intention to resettle those communities quicker. But that's an option that is available to us. But it will be the last resort. Our intention is to engage those communities so that they are brought into understanding that the communities that have been affected are already enduring serious trauma. So it is expected in human solidarity that other members of the community should therefore be available to support those people that are vulnerable at this stage. So we will be persuading our communities, as the executive mayor is saying, before any court processes are engaged on. And the issue of whether the king is assisting in identifying land or not. Look, as government, we have repeatedly indicated that anyone who comes to support these vulnerable communities, we will take that particular support. We're not in competition with anyone. So if the king is engaging traditional leaders to avail land, we can easily be able to provide infrastructure and resettle those communities. We will definitely make consideration of that. So the House of Traditional Leaders is also engaged in this process. So the issue of coordination, we've already engaged the chairperson of the House of Traditional Leaders to say there's need and demand for land. We need proper coordination with all stakeholders. So on their own, they are engaging in that process. So that if we get alternative land and all that in the tribal areas, we can be able to use that land effectively. Extending stay in mass care centers. As of now, we've got no alternative but to extend the stay in those mass care centers. And currently, our Department of Social Development is busy with that extension.
All right, live visuals there from Mthatha in the Eastern Cape, where the government has just concluded, or rather is still briefing on the ongoing disaster response, retrieval and rebuilding programs. Government stating that they'll only be able to provide permanent housing solutions for those earning 3,500 or less. And then on the issue of land in Nguma, they say once the land has been leveled or made conducive, they'll begin the building.